All right, y'all, welcome to the session. So my name is Stacy, and I'm going to be talking to y'all today about how to leverage the power of Facebook and Instagram ads to really take what you're doing for your brands or for your business and take it to the next level. And my intention for you today is to understand that anything that you see in this presentation is absolutely doable for you. So don't go into it thinking that something is a little too high level, that only big brands are able to run ads. That's not true, all right? So we're going to talk about how to really make sure that you are definitely taking stuff to the next level with ads. So let's get started. So let's talk about who this is for, who this session is for. So you're in the right place if you're a CEO or a marketer of a growing brand, and this is your season to level up. You've been doing some marketing, you've been hustling it out with Instagram, you've been posting reels, you've been doing all the things, but you're like, hey, I'm ready to take what I'm doing to the next level. I'm ready to invest in ads, and you're investment minded, and you're ready to stop leaving all this money that you're leaving on the table by relying on organic marketing alone. And so in the next 30 minutes, about 30-ish minutes, I like to talk, and I'm gonna leave plenty of time for questions, so please prepare your questions. We're gonna talk about how to stop leaving money on the table and scale in 2023. We're gonna talk about what you must have in place to increase your sales with ads. So how do you know if you're ready to scale your business with ads? We're gonna talk about my 5 principles of creating ads that actually convert. And we're gonna talk about how to create campaigns that drive low-cost leads. And then I'm gonna talk to you about how you can do all of this without having to hire an ad agency. So let me know if this sounds like you. You've built up your business or you built up your brand organically with blood, sweat, and tears. So many tears, definitely, I've been there. You're actually doing a lot of marketing. You're like, I'm doing all the things. I'm posting the reels. I'm creating blogs. I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing the things. But you're ready to do some things that are more scalable, more predictable. You're starting to see that your success is not as predictable as you'd like it to be. You're also in the right place. If you're ready for more impact, you're ready for more visibility, you're ready for more increased exposure, more sales, all those things when you start with Facebook and Instagram ads. And maybe you've even tried them before. Maybe you're like, hey, I've boosted a post. I've jumped into ads a little bit, and it hasn't worked for you. You've gotten burned by an ad agency, all the things. I've heard it all. But let me tell you, by the end of this session, you're really going to understand what is holding you back. You're really going to understand what's keeping you from increasing your sales more predictably month to month. You're going to have a clear roadmap to exponentially increasing your sales. You're going to stop leaving money on the table, all the things, right? And so before we jump in, let me tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Stacy. I've been in marketing for 11 years. I remember when digital marketing was a specialization. And now you're really kind of hyper-specialized. I've generated over $150 million leading paid social efforts for brands that you see on the screen. I used to work at Zappos. I led paid social there. I've worked with hundreds of brands in the e-commerce space. I've been featured in business in the Baltimore Sun. I've been featured in Business Insider. I've been a part of the Peacock Podcast Network for their series called Founding in Color. And I work with online brands that are really trying to get out of that messy middle, that place where you're like, I'm doing all the things, but I'm still kind of hitting a ceiling. My revenue has still stalled. And so these are some of the brands I've worked with. And really, people come to me when they have a big vision. And they're like, I'm ready to take things to the next level because I have a big vision. I want to make a big impact. And so that's what I help people to bring to life. All right, so we're ready to jump in to really understand Facebook ads. Give me some snaps or something, a little something to let me know y'all ready. Okay, good. So what are Facebook and Instagram ads really? What does that really mean when we're talking about Facebook and Instagram ads? And so I love to use the analogy that Facebook ads are like gasoline. It's like pouring gasoline onto a fire. And so you have to have something that's brewing, something that's working, something that you have to have a spark in order for them to be successful. So really understanding what works in your business. You're actually making some sales. You have some customers. You're starting to really see those kind of numbers come in. You have that kind of different things that are telling you who your people are and telling you that you're on the right track. And now you're ready to take things to the next level. Facebook ads are an amplification strategy. They're a way to take your message and put it on a larger stage. But you already have to have a message, right? You have to have something that actually works. And so amplification is just one piece of the puzzle. And so let's talk about the 3 things you need to have in place before you can really kind of start to scale with ads. And this is a framework that I really kind of distilled from working in marketing for 11 years. And so we see yellow as amplification, but again, that's one piece of the puzzle. If you want to scale, you have to hit all 3 of these. You have to have magnetic messaging. You have to have a clear customer journey. And I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about what each of those things are. So let's start with messaging. Your message is your magnet. It is a way to really kind of attract your best buyers and repel people who can't afford you or people who don't need what you offer, right? So your message also, it's not just about attracting the right people. It's also about making sure that people know that whether something is not for them, and so they can go keep on scrolling. And this is what you kind of infuse into your ads, to your creative, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about creative and what your ads should look like in a second. But keep it in mind, messaging is the basis of all marketing. It's the basis of what you're creating your ads for and what kind of campaigns you're running. And then the second piece is a clear customer journey. And so I like to think of a customer journey as how do people go from I have no idea who you are to please take my money. All of your customers have to go through a journey in order to get to that place of buying from you. I like to say you have to build that know, like, and trust. And so the goal of your marketing, what you're trying to do is to move people towards the sale. But you have to have a clear journey. Some people like to call it a funnel. We've been calling it a funnel more so these days, right? So you have to have a way of moving people to the sale. And so, like, for example, maybe you have a quiz. Maybe that can kind of segment your products. Maybe you have a quiz that can segment people and tell them what products are best for them. Those kinds of things help people to make buying decisions. So we as marketers have to be able to kind of implant these different kinds of messaging and these different kinds of touch points to be able to help move people to the sale. And then the third piece is amplification. You have to find a way to amplify what you're doing. Because if you have a great message and you have a customer journey but nobody goes through it, then you're not going to make any sales. So we have to have a way of really kind of pulling people in and building community. And organic marketing is the foundation. So organic marketing is the foundation of your marketing strategy. It's like the foundation of your house. Email marketing, posting on social, all that kind of stuff has to continue even when you're running ads, because I don't want you to build a business that tanks when the next algorithm changes. And organic marketing helps to build community. It helps people feel like they're a part of something. But the problem is that organic reach is dropping, right? So we're in a world where we have to pay to play. So the average reach of one of your Facebook page posts is about 5%. So about 1 in 19 of your Facebook followers are actually seeing your organic posts. Instagram's reach has dropped 43% in 2 years, right? So you're even thinking about email. Your average email click-through rates are 3%. Open rates are about 30%. And so what does that mean, Stacy? Are you saying that organic marketing doesn't work? No. But what I'm saying is that we're in a world we have to pay to play. We're in a world where we have to start to invest our money so that we can get bigger reach. And there are a lot of different ways that you can advertise. You can advertise on Google. You can advertise on TikTok, all those things. But why Facebook? Why do I love Facebook ads? One, Facebook has 2.9 billion monthly active users. So that means that 2.8 billion people log into this app at least once every 30 days. Think about how many times you checked Facebook today or Instagram, right? Instagram has 1.9 billion monthly active users. So a lot of people are logging into this app. A lot of people saying Facebook is dead. That's not. The stats that doesn't even align with the stats. And even on top of the fact that there's a lot of people there, the thing that I love about Facebook ads is that you can reach people that have a problem that you solve even when they're not thinking about you. And so let me give you an example. So I have had laser hair removal before. I loved it years ago, but I've been thinking about getting another treatment. But it's not top of mind enough for me to be Googling about it, right? Because I had a lot of other things going on, 1,000 other things I got to think about. But what happens is I'm on Facebook. I get on Facebook all the time. I see an ad for Laser Away. And they're like, oh, here's, when you want to get pricing on, on laser hair removal, da-da-da. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I forgot. This is something that I definitely have a need for. But I'm not thinking about it enough to go Google it, right? And so it shows up, and I'm like, okay, let me fill out the form, get the pricing, and what happens? I get put into their sales sequence. I'm getting their emails. I'm getting their phone calls. And so they're moving me to the sale, right? They decided to invest in advertising to get in front of people who have a problem, but they're not problem aware enough to be searching for it. Or they're not, at that point where it's top of mind enough for them to be searching for it. So that's the power of Facebook and Instagram ads. And a lot of brands really kind of turn to ads because they want to go fast. They're like, I want to get the numbers, right? But that's a surefire way of building a business that ends up being dependent on Facebook ads. And that's not what I want for you. So that's why I talk about all three of these pieces. Is that when your brand is ready to scale with ads, when you understand who your customers are, so you understand what messages resonate with them, you have a clear way to move people to the sale. So you have a funnel, a customer journey, something set up that's going to move people to the next step. And you are already organically nurturing your audience, because everybody that goes into your ad funnel is not going to make it, is not going to purchase right away. But you're still sending your emails, you're still doing your podcast, you're still doing your blogs. So this is kind of a natural next step for your marketing. So don't look at Facebook ads as a starting point, but look at it as a way to kind of take what you're doing to the next level. And so I really want you to start to think about, what would predictable, consistent sales on autopilot mean for your brand? What would happen? What would it mean for your brand if you were getting leads coming into your email system while you're sitting right here? While you're not out there posting content, and you're not out there creating blogs, while you're doing all these events, while you're on the beach. Shoot, I just went to Jamaica. I still had sales coming in. It was exciting, right? So let's talk about the how. So we understand what Facebook ads are. So this is what I call the ZEAL method. And so this is my framework for how we actually create Facebook and Instagram ads that are successful and that actually do put your sales on autopilot. And so we're going to talk about messaging first. So this purple section, magnetic messaging. The first thing you have to do is define your audience. So you have to understand, who am I talking to before you create any ads, before you record a video, before you write any copy. Who am I talking to? What are their problems? What are they looking for? The next is to anchor your top three. So I like to have people come up with 3 different messages. So anchor to 3 top messages that resonate with your audience. So like, for example, does your digital product help to close the wealth gap? That's a message right there that you can bring to life in your advertising. Does your product help your audience experience this soft life? Like, there's this soft life movement going on right now. People are like, I want to be free. I want to be, want to have these beautiful candles, all these kinds of different things that help me to experience this soft life. Or do you provide pain relief? Do you help people to make more money? Do you help people to gain confidence? Whatever it is, go a little bit deeper than just the surface level messaging. Really figure out, what do people want at the end of the day? That's how you create messaging and you infuse that into your advertising. And so once you understand who you're talking to and you've outlined what messages you're gonna focus on, that's when you want to create hot ads. And my hot ads framework stands for hook, open, tell. So you got to hook people. You have 2 seconds to capture people's attention on social. So that first 2 seconds needs to be something that is about them, not about you. Something that helps them to qualify and say, oh yes, that's me. Let me keep paying attention. The O stands for open. You have to open their minds to what's possible. Because again, people are experiencing a problem. They may not know what the solution is, but they know that they have a problem. So you want to start to open their minds to what's possible. And then the last part is T is tell them what to do next. We can't just assume that people are going to go take that quiz or go buy that product. We want people to buy, we want people to sign up, we have to tell them to do that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about creative in a second, but I wanted to give you all this framework. So that's messaging. The second piece is customer journey. So how do we figure out what customer journey works best for Facebook ads? First, you're going to need to define the path. So you have to have somewhere to send your Facebook ad traffic. Unlike organic social, our goal is not to keep people on the platform. Our goal is to get people off the platform and get them into our marketing ecosystem. And so we have to figure out, what is that path? Is it someone has to download your lead magnet and then they watch your workshop and then they buy? Is it that someone takes your quiz and that helps them segment to the different products that they need, that would fit their need? And then that way they can easily kind of see what they're doing. So you have to have somewhere to send your ad traffic. You want to send people to a place that already converts, right? Thinking about, that's why these are an amplification strategy. Think about what already converts, and that's where you want to send people. The next piece of it is outlining your tests. And so with marketing, everything is a test. We know that, we're marketers, everything's a test. We're always testing. Ads are no different. You always want to make sure that you are being intentional with what you're testing, because that's how you get to the next level. When I was at Zappos, I did a ton of testing. It was always testing something. And when you're testing consistently and intentionally, that's how you scale. And then the third piece is you got to optimize the journey. So once you start getting people to kind of go through your sales funnel, what are people doing? Are people falling off before they watch the webinar, so they didn't even get a chance to see the sales pitch? Are people not making it to your sales page because something on your sales page is broken? Always looking at that journey to figure out, how can I make this better? If I change the headline on my opt-in page and increase my opt-in rate from 20% to 50%, that's a way for you to create more money in your business without actually having to spend more money on ads. So it's always about figuring out what are those touch points? How do you keep things going? And then the last piece is amplification. And so as I mentioned, organic marketing still happens. And so it's about automating your email. So we're making sure that when people sign up for your lead magnets, when people sign up for your product, people look for that coupon, that they actually get it. Most of your sales are going to come from your email, right? And so we're sending people. So again, people are not going to always convert them right away. People need to have multiple touch points. They have to talk to you about 7 different times before they're going to buy from you. And so your ads are just one touch point. Second piece of it is building a movement. And so building a community is great. But having a list of 10,000 people, having a community of 10,000 people that don't buy from you is useless. So you want to make sure that you're always you're using your marketing as a way to move people. So it's overcoming the objections that they have before they buy from you. So making sure that you're creating movement. And then the last piece of it is optimizing your ads, because set it and forget it doesn't work. That's not my style. Set it and forget it only will really kind of leave you in a place where you're having these high costs and you're not actually optimizing and actually lowering your costs. So for example, at a client, she has an app. She's creating like LinkedIn for Black tech. And we've been running ads. And her cost per lead dropped 347% because we've been just jumping in every week, making changes. Always looking for ways to optimize what we're doing. And so that's the framework. This is the how. So let's talk about ad creative, because that's one thing that I get asked a lot. It's like, okay, Stacy, I understand Facebook ads, I understand the framework, I'm understanding that these steps are involved, but I'm still stuck on the ad creative piece. I'm still stuck on what my ad should actually look like. So I've built myself over 1,200 different Facebook and Instagram ad campaigns. And I've distilled all of what kind of works down into these 5 principles of successful Facebook and Instagram ads. So the first principle is that you must spark curiosity. People are not getting on Instagram to be sold to. They're not getting on Instagram saying, I hope I see an ad for a red shoe today. That's not why people are getting on. They're getting on to be social. And so we, as advertisers, are interrupting them being social. And so in order for us to connect with them, we have to make sure that we give them a reason to pay attention. And we do that by leading with empathy, by sparking their curiosity, by making it about them. And that kind of leads me into the second one, is that your ads are not about you. I see this a lot. People are going to say like, oh, well, buy my candle, sign up for my workshop because it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I get it. It probably is. But your people are not thinking about your solutions or your products. They're thinking about the problems that they're having. They're thinking about themselves. So you want to talk about the transformations that people experience through your service or through your product. That's what you want to talk about. It's not saying like, hey, I'm the expert, so you should talk to me. That's not why people buy. That's not what captures people's attention. Principle number 3 is that you need to speak to one person. I know we can reach so many different people on Facebook and Instagram. We can reach a lot of people. But at the end of the day, one person is looking at your ad, one person is going to your landing page, and one person is making that purchase from you. And so instead of trying to talk to everybody on Facebook, create super hyper-focused messaging so that you are talking to your people specifically. Right? And so I can give you an example. So BetterHelp is an online therapy. They were running some Facebook ad campaigns with influencers. And each of these different influencers were calling out different kind of like stigmas and tropes around mental health within their community. And so there was one, like, a Black influencer that was just like, oh yeah, I was told to pray it away. I was told that mental health wasn't a thing. And so that resonated with me. That connected with me. And so that connects with a lot of different people. Right? Because you can think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard that before, right? That may be something that has held you back from experiencing mental health. And so that's how you create hyper-focused messaging. And so there were other influencers of different cultures saying their different kind of tropes and the different things that they've experienced. And so they're really making an effort to be very specific in who they're talking to. So again, speak to one person. Principle number 4 is that they have to compel action. And so unlike organic social, our goal is to get people to leave the platform. Our goal is to get people to stop being social, stop scrolling, stop checking in, on what's going on Instagram, and to actually go to our landing pages and to make a decision. And so we have to make sure that we're leading people to the next step. So we're not just saying, oh, this webinar is great and leaving it at that. We're like, this webinar is great. This is the transformation you're going to experience. Go watch it. Go do that. Go sign. Take the first step towards your future by XYZ. And then principle number 5 is that they're replicable. Facebook ads they have to be, everything you do within marketing is a test, as I mentioned, and Facebook ads are no different. And so you're always testing, you're always learning, you're always iterating, and that's how you scale, is by really figuring out, like, how do I make sure that what I'm doing, I can take some learnings from that. I can clearly see what message resonates because I'm focused on one message. I can clearly see if this landing page is converting because I'm focused on doing these landing page optimizations. So you have to take the emotion out of it. Facebook ads are very data-driven. You get a ton of data when you're running Facebook ads. And so as long as you're paying attention to that data, that's how you scale. That's how you get to the next level. And so those are the 5 principles. And so let's talk about what's possible. Because now we understand how, we understand the mechanics. What's possible? So one of my clients, she's relieved 1,087 leads in a quarter for less than 76 cents cost per lead. And they were very high quality leads. She had people actually reaching out to her, setting up meetings about this app and wanted to talk about funding and all these kinds of things. These are real people on Facebook. I think people kind of think of it as they're not real people or they're bots. These are real people that we're talking to, people that are just not connected to you because from a friend of a friend of a friend. Because that's how Facebook's algorithm works. It wants you to see people that you're connected to. And so when you step outside of that with advertising, there's a whole lot of people out there who need what you offer. They just don't know you, or they can't find you on Facebook because they're not connected to you by a friend of a friend of a friend. And so that's what's possible. So online course leads, if you have an online course, $1.52 cost per lead. How many of courses would you have to sell to be able to make that money back? Right? You sell one course, you make 30, 40, 50 times your money. Right? And so all of this stuff is possible. I've audited agencies before. I've helped them to do what they're doing better. Right? And so there's a lot of things that are possible with Facebook and Instagram ads. Okay, so we're wrapping up here, and I want to make sure I have time for questions. And so this is what we talked about. So we talked about how to stop leaving money on the table in 2023. We talked about what you must have in place before you start running ads. And we've talked about my 5 principles of ads that convert. And we talked about how to create campaigns that drive low-cost leads. And so I want you to start to think about, how am I going to stop leaving money on the table? How am I going to take things to the next level? How am I going to infuse all what I've learned here today to be able to really attract people 24/7, to put my sales on autopilot? And you could try to DIY this. You could go into YouTube University, dig in there, and try to figure this out. But that's gotten you here, right? There are holes in the puzzle. Or you can really collapse time. You can collapse time by partnering with someone who's generated $150 million with Facebook and Instagram ads specifically, and have been doing this for 11 years. And so if you want to collapse time and you want to work with an expert, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you can work with me in a second, and then we're going to take some questions. So I have a course. It's called Maximize with Ads. It teaches you how to run your ads in-house without hiring an agency, and really figuring out, it gives you the roadmap to putting your sales and lead generation on autopilot. And so if you've ever been burned by an agency and want to try things yourself, if you've tried to run your own ads but you got lost in the back end, you got overwhelmed with the tech, or if you've ever felt like you've been leaving money on the table because you seriously are ready to invest in ads, you just don't know where to start, this course will help you to accelerate your growth and gives you the exact strategies, trainings, and all the things that you need to take things to the next level. And so this is what the course walks you through. How to set up your tech, building your strategy, creating hot ads, launching your campaigns, analyzing and optimizing, and creating testing for ongoing success. So this is one of my, someone I worked with in a VIP day, and taught her how to run her own ads. She is the creator of the 5-Minute Bookkeeper. She is literally going to change the bookkeeping world, let me tell y'all. But now she's already on track for millions of dollars because she's investing in ads. She just started her business like a couple years ago, and it's just crazy. And so this is what's included in my course. Video lessons, so if you like how I teach, they're all videos from me. Templates, scripts, checklists, all the things. So if you're like, I don't know what to say, I have ad scripts for your video ads, all that kind of stuff. And then you get access to a private Facebook group with me, and where we do monthly strategy sessions, we help each other out, we work together to make sure that we can continue to level up. And just for marketing for the culture, if you join my course, then you'll save $200. And then you also get a 90-day launch planner that helps you outlining, when should I start my ads? When do I switch from lead generation to sales campaigns if I'm doing a launch? And then also, I have another testimonial here from one of my other clients. Dope food photographers. If you need a food photographer, let me know. But I break down strategy in a way that's easy to understand. I want to make sure that I just give you the information that you need to be successful, because while I can talk Facebook ads with Facebook gurus and we can go going real deep, you don't need to go deep. You just want to make the money. You want to get the results. And so that's what I teach. And if you sign up by the end of the conference, then you get a free strategy session with me. And so I'll talk with you, your marketing team, and we'll really figure out, like, how do we take things to the next level? How do we continue to do what we're doing, but how do we do it better? All right, and so if you want to connect with me, you can scan my QR code. If you want to check out the course and the special offer, you can go to stacyzeal.co/MFTC, and that will give you access to all those bonuses that I talked about. So that's what I got for y'all. Thank you. Any questions? Please feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I love answering questions about ads, for sure.
Hopefully everyone can hear me now. You spoke a lot about testing. You spoke a lot about, the different ad campaigns that you've put in. And so I just want to get your point of view on, once a campaign is working, or it may not be working, it may be in that learning stage, right? How do you decipher between it's time to turn it off or it's time to put more money into it? And the second part is, what's a good amount to increase the ad budget by so that it doesn't completely throw off course the ad?
Yeah, great question. So let me answer the second part of that question first. So Facebook has what's called a learning phase within campaigns. So essentially, when you launch a campaign in the Facebook's like, okay, who are the people that are going to respond to this? So it's kind of like that first 50 conversions, whether it's leads, traffic, whatever it is. Facebook's like, okay, who are your people? So they're trying to figure out who they are. And so once Facebook figures that out, they're like, okay, if you increase or you make any kind of significant change, then we're going to kick it back into the learning phase, because now you're changing stuff, you're doing too much, we gotta start over. So with budgets is one of those things that's considered a significant change. So if you change your budget by more than 20%, what I like to say is 20% a day, then it's going to kick it back in the learning phase. And so if you're seeing something is successful, what you want to do is make sure that if you're increasing your budget, just increase it by 20% at the max. And then next day, if you're seeing it's still doing successful, increase it another 20%. And so in my course, I created a calculator for my students where they're just like, okay, this is, my campaigns are doing well. I want to increase my budget. Here's my budget. What can I do? How to make it really kind of easy. And then how do you evaluate success, which was the other question. So one is really going to depend on what your KPIs are. And so are you looking for leads? Are you looking for sales? Are you running lead generation campaigns and you're having a sale that's coming on in the back end? So for example, I'm doing a virtual summit in September. And so I've started running ads now to build my list. And so I'm not expecting those people to convert until I get to my summit, but I want to pack my summit. And so for me, if I'm looking at purchases right now, it's saying, oh, this is unsuccessful. Nobody's purchasing right now. But because I know that my goal is to build my list as the most efficiently as possible, so that way when I do have this big launch in September, that is where I'm going to be looking for that purchase data, for those conversions to come through. And so it really depends on what your goals are. And so if you're seeing you're going for lead generation and you're always trying to figure out how to optimize your cost per lead. So it's like, okay, my cost per lead is $3. What are some changes that I can make to get it down to $2, to get it down to $1.50, to get it down to 50 cents? And it takes time. It takes testing, being intentional with what you're testing and all those kinds of things. But really, it's evaluating success is going to come down to what your KPIs are and what your metrics are and how you're evaluating success. That's why it's so flexible, which is great with Facebook ads, because it's somebody could, one advertiser over here could be targeting your audience running sales campaigns. You could be running lead generation campaigns, and you could still be competing for the same audience, but your campaign goals are different, and all that kind of stuff is different. So it really just depends on what your KPIs are. I hope that answers your question.
Great job.
Thank you so much.
One of the things I took away was on social media. We all just learned we're old. So
I know, right? Ain't we old, y'all? It's crazy. I didn't realize.
on social media, but you said we're constantly interrupting people who are trying to be social.
Yeah.
From the HP perspective, right? We're a huge company, so we can't help but sell to you.
Yeah.
What are some working strategies that you have seen lately in the social media landscape that have worked
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things with big brands, I worked at Zappos and worked for a lot of big brands. And sometimes with a big brand, you're a little disconnected from your customer because there's a whole lot of layers that you got to go through before you get something out. And so with smaller brands, it's a lot easier because we can, like, if you're talking to your customers on a daily basis, you're talking to them regularly, maybe you have a Facebook group where they tell you these things, that what's going on with them, right? Like, it's easier to make messaging that kind of pulls that in. But the other side of that, though, is that I know y'all have data tools. I know you have listening tools. I know you have all these tools that you can invest in. And so what I would say, strategies that work to create more authentic messaging is definitely figuring out, like, one, Reels ads work really well. When Facebook or Instagram or any platform is rolling out a new tool or a new kind of placement, it's very cheap to advertise there. You get because they want people to use it. They want people to use Reels and that kind of stuff. So they're prioritizing that kind of stuff. So creating Reels, leading into, I would say, more so what's working with your consumer mindset now. And so Reels is working because people's attention spans have shortened, right? And so that's why it works. It's not just because Reels are amazing or Reels are better than TikTok. It's because it plays into where consumers are at with their mindset right now. And so thinking of ways of, like, how can I advertise? How can I get my message across in a way that is authentic, that is, that touches people, but that's really kind of short. Also, influencers work really well. When I was at Zappos, we did a ton of influencer ads because influencers have mastered that ability to be able to build a community, but also they're so connected to their community that they speak their language. And so when we're thinking about big brands, that's our biggest struggle, is being really connected to those people. So definitely, like, using influencers and letting them create, right? Because I know we have our brand guidelines. We want to make sure that we give them scripts and tell them what to say, and we got to make sure it's on brand. But we have to allow people to create. Because that's why we're hiring these influencers, is because we, as the big brands, have been unable to really kind of create that really individualized, personalized messaging because we're so disconnected and we have so many layers of red tape that we have to get through before we put anything out. And so hiring those influencers, letting them create, leaning into that, leaning into Reels and short form video, those kinds of things. So yeah, those are definitely some strategies I would say will work really, really well for big brands. And you can really scale influencer ads, because you can have ads, especially if you're getting commercial, you have to get commercial rights for sure. But if you're saying, like, hey, can I use your content for 90 days? That's 90 days worth of ads that one creative can run for 90 days. And so that can just continuously convert for you. And then you take those signals. You have an influencer that works really well. You hire them again, hire them to create some more stuff, hire them, say, like, hey, here are some learnings that we have from these last campaigns. Can you create something that's similar? Can you create something with a similar message? And how we can really kind of do, so that's how you can really scale those kinds of things. So once you understand what works, then you can look at your data to say, like, okay, well, this works. Let me actually just iterate on that. So I hope I answered your question. Awesome, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
What would be your recommendation, or would you think that a solopreneur, entrepreneur, small business who's not using an ad agency be able to utilize ChatGPT, Google Bard, to start building out some of the Facebook verbiage for campaigns, or maybe they don't use it word for word, but help to get kind of ideas and that sort of thing for Facebook ads?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually have my podcast, Roadmap to 1 Million. I actually did an episode on how to use AI to streamline your marketing. I just did an interview for an article that's about to come out about my opinion about AI and ads. And so here's what I told him. With AI, we have AI over here, sitting over here, making it very efficient, making it a lot more easier for us to be more efficient. But then you have consumer mindset over here. Consumers want personalized messaging. They want to know that you're talking directly to them. They want to know that you understand their problems specifically. They want to feel like they're your special snowflake. And so with AI, it's kind of hard to do that because they're not pulling from actual people's what they're saying. They're just pulling from, like, the internet, all that kind of stuff. And so as marketers, we kind of have to sit in the middle. And so when I'm thinking about Facebook ads and AI, one of the things I will say is that, like, I love to kind of take something that's already working, put that into the AI and say, can you iterate on this? And so I've done that with headline testing for ads before. So I'll say, like, for this other client that I talked about has this app that's kind of, Black LinkedIn for tech professionals. We had a headline that was working really, really well. And so I'm like, let me put this in ChatGPT and see if I can get a couple iterations on that. And so I wouldn't say that, like, so and in my course, I do have, like, scripts and all that kind of stuff to help people with starting points. But I will say that, like, we have to make sure that we're infusing the messaging that our customers want to hear. And so when you're so connected to your customers, like a solopreneur, or smaller business, you know what language they use. Because sometimes we may describe things in a certain way, and they use a completely different word, so it's not connecting. I think about, like, soda versus pop, right? Some people say soda, some people say pop. If you know that about your people, ChatGPT is not going to be able to tell you that. They're not going to be able to spit that out to you. And so using it as a starting point is great. But then making sure that you're going in and infusing your messaging, you're still kind of being very intentional with knowing like, what is the message I want to kind of, infuse here? And then using ChatGPT to help you to create some stuff. But don't use it as a like, I fear people kind of going into ChatGPT saying like, I need some Facebook ad copy, and then they're just copying and pasting and putting it into the platform. And could that work? Maybe. But the way that I teach and the way that you really kind of break through the feed is you have to connect with people. You have to use the language that they're using. You have to, and that requires you having some kind of connection with them and being able to talk to them. So I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the information. So my question is really a two-parter. Do you still recommend Facebook as your advertising platform of choice when focusing on B2B sales?
Good question. Uh-huh.
And then for clients who are very strong-willed in determining choosing a specific platform like Google versus Facebook, what are you saying to them to get them to think about Facebook as an alternative when they don't think that their prospects are on that platform?
Yeah, great question. So I would definitely say for B2B, I think Facebook ads still work for B2B. And the reason is because you're thinking about where your consumers are at. Like the people who are also getting on LinkedIn. How many people have LinkedIn account? Raise your hand. Keep your hand up if you also have Facebook. So we're all still using these platforms, right? We just use them a little differently when we're in different mindsets on the different platforms. Like when I get on Facebook, I'm expecting to see social stuff. When I'm on LinkedIn, I'm expecting to see professional things. And so how do you as a B2B brand take your professional message and adapt it to a more social platform? That's really kind of that's really what I would say there is that like if you have software, for example, let's say QuickBooks, for example, QuickBooks advertises on Facebook. Why? Because their consumers are B2B, they're business owners, but these business owners are also on Facebook, they're also on Instagram, they're also doing these other things, right? I do business, my primary channel for business is Facebook. So I focus on organic Facebook and ads, but I focus on Facebook and I talk to business owners on Facebook. And so still talking to that B2B lens, I would definitely say it works there. But then I would say like if you're thinking about Google ads versus Facebook ads, and I kind of love to have this kind of comparison is that Google ads require you to be in a mindset of actually looking for the solution that you have. It has to be top of mind enough for you to be Googling it. Also with Google, you're competing, a bigger budget beats on Google all the time. If you have a bigger budget than someone else, if you're better at budgeting on Google, that's gonna beat you. It's gonna beat somebody else. But on Facebook, a better message is gonna beat a bigger budget every time. Because even if you have all this money, even if you have, like when I was at Zappos, we spent millions of dollars. We had Facebook reps that we met with every week, that were teaching us how to best spend our budget. But we were able to kind of show up in front of people who weren't necessarily Googling a red pair of shoes. We were able to show up in front of and show kind of messaging in front of people who needed a pair of Nikes, but they just weren't searching for a pair of Nikes yet. But they were on Facebook. They're scrolling there. And so I think you want to have, I don't think it's necessarily like one versus the other. I think that Google ads have its place and they do actually work because if you think about people have a higher purchase intent. So they're like ready to buy. But you're also competing with all these big brands, you're competing budget-wise. On Facebook, you can have a smaller budget and still make a significant impact. And you can reach people who are not necessarily at that mind frame where they're Googling the problem that they have, but they still have it. Like I may need a pair of leggings, I'm just not looking on Google for them yet. Or I may need a sales coach, but I'm scrolling Facebook and I'm like, oh crap, I do need to go invest in that, or I do need to go kind of go this way. And so that's what I would definitely say for that. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you. Okay, question.
Is there going to be implementing like Facebook, like when you say something and then it picks up on the ad on your phone? Can you tailor that to your ads?
So you're asking if Facebook's listening to you talk? Is that what you're asking?
Listening, I know.
Yeah.
But is there any way I would tailor that in the back end, like how I tailor the race or the consumer that I want to target?
Yeah. So what you can feed into Facebook is kind of like interests, behavior. So you can target people who have shown kind of Facebook that they are business owners. So like you can say small business owner, people who are interested in social media marketing. So you can target people based on those kinds of things. You can't necessarily like target individual users based on what they may be saying or what they may be inputting into Facebook. So you can't target people by like religion. You can't target people by race. So you can't say like show this to black marketers. Like you can't do that. But you can say like show it to people who are interested in marketing. Maybe they're within a certain age range, that kind of thing. So Facebook does kind of have a blockage between that privacy to kind of help where us as the users also feel like we are protected from having advertisers just kind of be able to drill into, you know, what we're saying or what we're doing. So there is that level, kind of like a level of protection. So you can't necessarily do that, but you can, like, if you build a profile of somebody saying like, I want to target people, if you know like all your clients are vegans, for example, like say you have some kind of product for vegans, you can target vegans or people who have shown interest in like, you know, in veganism, but you can't necessarily say, show it to people who have been talking about carrots lately, right? Like you can't drill into that kind of, that way. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I was going to when you said some people say soda, some people say pop.
Right.
You're saying pop is my ads on pop.
Well, when I say that, I mean you as the advertiser, like when you're creating your ads, so when you're writing your copy, you're creating your video ads or whatever you're using for advertising, that's where you would use that language. So if you're saying like, you know, take this quiz and learn what kind of, to learn what kind of soda you are, right? Like if that's the ad copy and you know your people say soda, you want to say soda. But if you're from a certain area of town, maybe you're targeting a specific region that says pop, then you would just say, take this quiz to learn what pop, you know, you're kind of most connected with. And so that's what I mean. I mean like, because it is a co-created kind of thing where we are feeding the algorithm. The algorithm is kind of like, you know, sending it to the people who it thinks will be successful. So what we're feeding it matters. And so if you're feeding it language that your customers use, it's more likely to be able to connect with them when they're seeing it on their feed.
Love the presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, I know you mentioned it's a largely pay-per-click world in social. Are there channels where organic conversion is still high in your view?
I would say TikTok probably. When I was at Zappos, we started doing ads on TikTok and they were not successful. And I would say because if you're thinking about the different kind of platforms, TikTok is the one platform I would say very specifically is like, you have to be very authentic to be able to kind of get any kind of traction on that channel. You have to be really kind of plugged into the trends and all that kind of stuff that the interns were talking about earlier. And so it's hard to kind of like, shoot an ad campaign and it kind of like, you know, have to kind of shoot a new ad creative every other day because a trend has changed. And so with advertising on TikTok specifically, you really have to be authentic to that platform. It's not to say that ads don't work on TikTok. It's just that I hadn't been able to make them work yet because of how, like, when we're talking about working for a big brand, right? Like getting creative, like I can't get new creative every other day. Like I got to get what I get. But if you are someone who is really good at picking up on trends and being able to kind of create creative really quickly, then you definitely want to, you know, play into TikTok. If that's where your customers are, because that's the other thing you have to think about is like, are your customers making their buying decisions on TikTok? They may be using it, but are they making the decisions for your kind of product on TikTok? Like if people are not, you know, if you sell like, you know, health and wellness kind of stuff, sure, maybe that works there. But if you're like selling B2B, I don't know if I would even recommend TikTok for B2B, you know, because people are on that platform, yes, but they're not necessarily in business mode or they're not in that kind of mode to be able to make a buying decision about something like a sales coach or, you know, something like that. So I hope it answered your question. I'm done. Okay, thanks y'all.